Hey, this is Jim Craddock. It is Sunday, June 30th, 2024. And this is my update. I haven't updated in, I don't know, I think it's 3 weeks now. Which, I mean, you should take as a good thing, right? Uh, in summary, if this is the first video for some reason of mine that you're jumping into, maybe because it's the last, I don't know. Yeah, my name's Jim Craddock. I am 54. I'm about to turn 55 this week. And I have a terminal condition that I gave myself when I was 26 years old. And the problem with it is that it's been redacted from literature. And as a result, I've gone through my life with intermittent periods of illness. And then over the last 2.5 years, a pretty large uh, number of episodes of illnesses. Anyway, and I'm just trying to document all that because nobody believes me because the literature's gone. And even as I find myself living through every single thing that this the original documentation I found for it talked about, uh, I- it just like it said. I remember this so distinctly when I was reading how it talked about the condition being insidious, because the things that change are these fundamental things that change the physiology of the person in ways that no other condition does, and so no one knows. They're basically looking under the wrong rocks, and they would really have to start picking up a lot of rocks to find this condition, because it's changing things at the cellular level, changing things at the hormonal level, and just it's just nothing that there isn't anything out there about it. And it's just something that I've had to deal with. So I've talked about all that before, and so I'm just going to give an update on where I'm at today, and continue on. It's been about 3 weeks. I really 3 weeks ago I had some significant things going on. I Not that I haven't for the last 2.5 years. The last 2.5 years has been one significant thing after another. Uh, and but I will say, right about uh, that week, okay, later that week, I had achieved all my timelines that I wanted to meet. And so basically I just said I am no longer worrying about anything that I eat and how that may impact me. And because I know that this condition involves carbohydrates and candidiasis, and there's a feedback loop there. It's just really complicated to explain. You can go back through all my other stuff, but in the end, it can be largely impacted by kind of what you eat. And uh, you know, uh, so about 3 weeks ago, I said, "Hey, screw it," and I made this conscious decision to. There's a piece of certain my favorite pie in the whole world, which is a type of chocolate cheesecake. I got a piece of that, and I said, this is me saying I don't give a shit anymore. And so I enjoyed that cheesecake. Since then, I've been enjoying whatever I want to eat, really. And I will say things have changed somewhat in that I some of the kind of muscle tearing slash sensitivity that I had earlier this year, and since last July, basically, that went from last July into early this year, I should say, has returned. It's not a lot of it. And it's mostly in my shoulders and my legs. My legs never really had it. They've just been sore, and that's really where they're at now. Is they just ache. But my arms and shoulders, uh, they, especially when I wake up in the morning and move, that I can feel this kind of tearing, aching, ripping. And if I, do a sudden movement, that's where I can really feel it. Like a sudden movement and a sudden stop at the end can really cause a lot of pain. But you really don't. These are things that I can avoid, and so I've just been able to act pretty normal. I definitely gained a little bit of weight. I think I had gotten into the low 50s and I'm up around 160 now. And honestly, that's because my digestion has slowed so much. It's just food building up and uh, so the transit time is 48 hours instead of a lot less like it always has been. So you get a lot more food built up in there. But I, I, I I literally cannot complain, is what I would say, because 2.5 years ago, January 17th, when this returned, the next day when I realized that that's what it was, uh, I thought, and if you go back to my original videos, well, I don't think you have access to the one I'm talking about, but I thought, hey, I've got a few weeks or something like that. I didn't realize that it could be this long. And I think part of the reason it's this long is because I've been taking fluconazole. Uh, and I think that that helps. So, I'm grateful that I've been able to get access to that. I'm running low and I have reordered from a place that is questionable. And maybe I will get those and maybe I won't. But I'm just thankful, that's all I can say. I've got I planted a garden this spring. I didn't expect to see that garden, bear any vegetables. It really hasn't because we had too much rain. Its gardens are so finicky. Uh, anyway, but it's grown, and this fence that you see behind me here in this picture now has a beautiful wisteria vine climbing up it. Now it's not flowering. But it will eventually, and I know it'll cover a lot of that fence, and it'll be gorgeous. I've just got to do so much. Well, everything from my son graduating high school to, going to have dinners that I didn't expect to, and seeing movies that I didn't expect to, and uh, enjoying watching my son prepare for college and go through all his kind of maturing process that he continues to do. And he's been volunteering with an acting camp this summer, and I'm super proud of him for that. And I need to tell him that honestly. Uh, and I, this week is my birthday, and my sister and her family is coming, and I'm excited for that possibility. Uh, and I literally don't have any expectations day to day. I just kind of plan in the near future at the most, and because you got to have some basic level of planning, and I I enjoy things as much as I can. And I will say that, I continue to pretty much every evening have some of my gummy or whatever, because there's some nights when I really need it, and there's some nights when I just don't want to give a shit, and I want to not think about things, and uh, it's a wonder drug. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to deny myself that as I go through these days with nobody believing me. Uh, uh, so I I do have another follow up with my neurologist, and all she's doing is holding my hand, but that's fine. I just want somebody that I check in with, and I think that's in 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks. And I mean, with the way things are going, maybe that I get there, maybe I don't. I I made that decision that I did a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, about eating whatever I want and things like that, because I know that I know for sure that the article didn't say anything about anybody making it 3 years. That when I think back on it, that 24 to 30 months seems like the type of numbers that it had, but I could be wrong because I've been wrong before. But I know 3 years was more, because I would have thought, okay, 3 years, that I would have had some type of recollection that it was that long. So hey, so I'm in the final steps of whatever this thing is, and my son is heading to college this fall, and I really don't want him to have to deal with me passing away while he's away at college. And I eh, and so what am I saying? Well, what I'm saying is that I would prefer to pass away before he goes away to college. And you know I mean, it's going to happen. And are those is that week or month or 2 months that much special to anybody else? Uh, that as I sit here going through whatever it is it worth screwing up a semester of his college? No, it's not worth screwing up a semester of his college. Not in my mind, it's not. So I just decided, hey, let's kind of let it all hang out and enjoy things, and maybe that kind of ensures that I don't make it past the beginning of school. Uh, and you could look at that as I don't know. I'm on some level, I would say I'm depressed, but at the same time, I'm able to do and function and everything. I'm not super interested in everything, but I'm still, doing everything I can. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. And I've enjoyed, like, for example, I got to watch the debate this week. And so listen to an old man talk about the debate for a second. So what we had is a very old man debating another old man. And I mean, one of them never really makes sense and lies all the time. Okay. The other one occasionally doesn't make sense, but he doesn't lie. I don't see how people support someone that they know lies all the time. Okay. Yeah, he may say he's for whatever thing you're for, but do you really know that he's for whatever you're for? Because you're watching him lie over and over again. How do you know he's not lying about whatever the thing is that you like that he's saying? I, I, I don't get that. I don't see how you trust him. Stop trusting him. Okay? He lies all the time. In the debate, he lied at least 30 times. Okay? I mean, and the lies are so outrageous, saying that people abort babies after they've been born. This is not a real thing. This is somebody who is really just trying to shock you into, oh, it's really bad. That might not be true. Might not. Yeah, it's definitely not true. Okay. But it might not be true, but there's all this other bad stuff. Well, okay. He's lying. Why do you believe any of the stuff? He just lied. Okay. He wasn't the most popular president in history. He didn't have the lowest budget deficit in history. I mean, all these things that he says, okay? International leaders make fun of him. If you go look at the international leaders that have been surveyed about which ones they like, Trump versus Biden. Biden leads in every single uh, poll of that type. So uh, you, I don't get it. Okay, I mean I get the whole white nationalist type thing that he has behind him, the racist, the the ultra right-wing Christians, the thing, but I guess I don't. I mean I don't understand the ultra right-wing Christians. The guy is obviously not a Christian. He's on his third wife. He has had to settle lawsuits for very large amounts of money for molesting and sexually abusing women during and sleeping with porn stars while his wife was pregnant. I mean, on any level, is that the guy that you really want to say, this is my guy? I mean, would you be friends with that guy if he was had your level of income, he acted like he does, where he's always right, everybody else is always wrong, and he's always lying? Is that a guy you would hire? That's the question I would ask. So just look at the two and say, okay, you got to hire one of these two guys. All right, which one are you going to hire? The Now then, if you are the sales guy, the car sales guy, the guy who doesn't mind lying to people, I can see you picking Trump. You're like, oh, he lies better. He's going to sell more product, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But he's a horrible, despicable person, but you're going to be fine with that. Okay. But what if you had to eat dinner with him every night? Okay. Which one of those people would you want at your dinner table, like every night and have to listen to? It just blows my mind. So anyway, I don't know who is going to be elected president. I don't even know if Biden will be on the ticket because everybody's kind of against him, or many people are against him at this point. I would imagine that he stays on the ticket. I would imagine that he tries to get out there with public facing stuff and say things. But if he really is in decline and they've been kind of sheltering him from the public and everything because he is losing his train of thought and things like that, then maybe their hand will be forced and they will have to replace him. I don't know. Uh, I just know that Trump is horrible for this future of the United States of America. And he may be the best thing in the world for Bitcoin. He says he likes Bitcoin. He obviously doesn't understand Bitcoin because he said he wants them all to be made in the United States from here on out. They aren't made. They aren't associated with a location. Uh, I mean, he couldn't be further from reality when he says things like this. He obviously doesn't get it. Uh, And if he did get it, he would be telling people to buy Bitcoin. He wouldn't be saying they should all be made in the United States. He'd be like, this is your way out right here, people. Use this. We should be using this. He would be saying that. Okay. He's not. So he doesn't get it. Uh, but he's a horrible, despicable person. And the people that he has put on the Supreme Court uh, are just doing away with decades of precedent, from Roe to Chevron, and other things. I mean, just as fast as they can, uh, and it is dramatically changing our country. And if I was a Democratic president, I would literally nominate people for the Supreme Court. I would start nominating. I would say, nope, we're going to have 13 judges. We've got 13 district courts. We're going to have 13 judges now. Uh, and because we originally had 9 judges, because we had 9 district courts. So uh, but they aren't doing that. So I, I don't know. Anyway, I see the debt problem uh, in a way that most Americans don't. Some do, and those that do are understanding that Bitcoin is a potential solution to all that. But the overall debt problem, it most people just don't realize that it is where it is, that next year, we're going to be spending well over $1 trillion in interest, and unless rates come down, that's going to quickly turn into 1.5 trillion, and from there it just, gets out of control over the next, basically it's going vertical right now. The amount of debt we have, the amount of interest we pay on the debt and everything. And the only way to fix that, quote unquote, is not really, this is not a fix, is to make that not be as significant. Okay. So how do you make it not be as significant? Well, your GDP and your tax base has to grow much more than that debt does. And so how do you do that? Well, you make dollars worth less money. And by making dollars worth less, I shouldn't say worth less money. Let's put it this way, worth less Bitcoin. So each dollar buys you less and less Bitcoin. Each dollar buys you less and less of anything. Uh, and over time, so what sounded like a lot of money when you say it's $25 trillion or whatever, because our GDP suddenly becomes, much greater, that 25 trillion doesn't sound as bad. Meanwhile, your salary as somebody who's, especially me, somebody like me who's a state worker, your salary just remains, pretty much constant. So you're making less and less because your dollars go less far. And that's been happening, and it will continue to happen at an accelerated pace. And there's no way out of it. There is a way out there's an escape hatch for people that in Bitcoin if it isn't outlawed. But other than that, there isn't anything. And for people who don't have any money to invest, they're screwed. I mean, they don't have a future. They're going to be destitute. And the government is going to have to support them. And in the new world economy, you're going to have a need for physical laborers, and you're going to have a need for skilled laborers, and then you're going to have a need for extremely advanced technology people, and everything in between is going to be open to being taken over by AI and automation and everything else. So everybody, it's kind of a barbell approach to employment. There's not going to be a middle class. So if you want to join that middle class, it's going to be very difficult to reach it without getting that super advanced education or actually owning a business that does very well. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope. I think that there will be some new order. My son will witness that, and my wife will witness that, and I don't pretend that it's going to go well. I think it's going to be a very difficult process, and there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of rebellion, a lot of violence, and it's just not going to be good. Anyway, I'm all right. I am making it day to day. I know it impacts people around me. I know, for example, today I get up and my wife is grumpy, would be the best way to put it. And man, I made blueberry pancakes and bacon and help clean up and still grumpy. And whatever it is isn't something that I can resolve because it's most likely related to everything else that's going on. And she's kind enough not to throw it in my face because it's nothing that we can resolve. So, but most days aren't like today. So most days are good days. And I've bought a lot of fireworks this week. Bought the most expensive firework I've ever bought. It was like $130 firework, although I used a 50% off coupon. So, I'm looking forward to that. I hope all that goes well. And there's my birthday. I will be 55. I will say that when I was 52 and a half, and this all started, I never expected to see 53. So when I got to 54, I was just like, wow. And now that 55 will be here, I'm once again extremely thankful. And kind of the closer I get to retirement, though, the more I feel robbed. Because I'm like, man, retirement would be so cool to just kind of have my money and go travel and but you got to be healthy for these things. And I haven't been healthy in quite a while. So travel has not been on the agenda. And there's a lot of places I wish I would have got to go. Anyway, uh, trying to think if there's any like thing that I'm really missing here. No, I physically, there are a few differences. I'm starting to feel weakness in some places that hadn't felt weak before. Uh, and but I haven't had any super large bouts of pain. Lots of abdominal discomfort in ways that, despite my decades of having various types of abdominal discomfort at different points from this condition, these are kind of unlike anything I've ever had to deal with before. Very difficult to describe. But overall, I really can't complain about the day to day. So, and hey, when you makes you look young like this does, see how smooth my skin is? I mean, you can't really gripe about that. I mean, it even looks like I've had Botox because it kind of makes you, it pulls it so tight that you get those little, things up there. But as you can see, I haven't had Botox because I am able to move all my muscles like those people cannot who have had Botox, who have just a mask on. So, anyway, terminal onset diabetes insipidus with candidiasis major is the name of the condition. And it's a result of experiment to resolve another condition. Creates this iatrogenic phase of your life, which is decades long and alters your fundamental physiology. I have to tell this one little story. So I went to a work event recently where there was a retired physician, and just be glad I'm not naming you, who I consulted with 2 years ago when I was starting back into all this stuff. And I was like, look, you've got to believe me. I wrote it all up and discussed it with him and everything. And he's just like, yeah, this isn't a real thing and whatever. And so he sees me at this event, and it was just like a casual afternoon event at somebody's house. And so we're outside under this in this building, under a building I should say, is open air, and it's very hot. But he's in his 70s, and he's like, how you doing, Jim? I'm like, well, I'm here. He's like, well, he looks like you're doing a lot better than you were a couple years ago, huh? Or than you thought you'd be doing a couple years ago. And I explained to him, I'm like, nope. I said, this has been going on the whole time. And, I have been through hell and back, and nobody's been able to figure anything out. And I'm just, taking it day to day. And I could tell that he was like, you know, and, but here's the thing, totally uninterested I mean, totally uninterested is what I would call the whole medical profession about something that they don't understand. Totally uninterested is what I would call the whole medical industry about something that they don't understand, because they're not going to get paid for it, because they can't prescribe anything for it. They can't even test for it, because unless you have something that shows up that they can say you need this test for, then they can't justify the test to the insurance company, and the insurance company isn't going to pay for anything. And you could be going through whatever, and unless you are obviously scientifically provably in some changed state that they can pursue, that there's nothing they can do. And but the problem there is they don't know where to look to find the changes in this case. And so basically they're useless. The system isn't designed for this type of a condition. And the fact that they threw it under the biggest rock they could throw it under by redacting all the science and reclassifying the condition, it it was very efficient. I'll just say that. I think that they were very effective at making this thing go away. Anyway, that's enough for today. Hey, my name's Jim Craddock, and I have this weird ass condition, and I'm just making the most of it as I can. And I appreciate you, checking this out. And hey, share my story with your friends. Tell them that, hey, medical science is not what you think it is, that they basically throw away some science when they deem that they should. And basically that limits their path forward, is all I can tell you, because there's a lot of things about this condition that challenge some fundamental concepts about physiology and the way the body can or would work, and how, honestly, I think how we've evolved over time. And they just threw it all out the door because of what they would see as almost a eugenics type approach to altering, physiology. So anyway, that's it for today. I'm gonna hang it up. It's interesting. I do want to say this. I've been recording videos for quite some time, and I think right now I've got about 60 videos in my list that are being published to YouTube at some point in the future. And then that puts this one out in September sometime, given where we're at right now. And every week I come in and I have to bump them out a week, and I have to bump out my emails. Sometimes I miss my Twitter one and it goes out, and that looks stupid, but nobody really subscribes to my Twitter, so it's not a big deal. But I just, every week when I do it, it's a major drag, but at the same time I'm just like, hey, I made it another week. And I don't record that many videos because I think I've documented everything as best I can, and as I go through whatever these changes are, I can just document them every once in a while and say, hey, this is where we're at today, and just go on from there. So, hey, I'm glad to be sharing my story with you once again. I feel lucky every morning when I wake up, and I try to meet life as best I can, and live day to day, and celebrate the things that I get to celebrate. And you know, uh, everybody will have some process that they go through at the end of their life, and mine is unique, and that's not necessarily a good thing. It's just very different, and so I feel the need to document it for science. Thanks.